Hi, this is Evelyn Hershey at the American Labor Museum, and today is October 24th, 2020, and this is a short video for those of you who would like to try our Saturday Labor Art Project for the day, which is writing a poem. It sounds like a challenge. Writing is not always everyone's favorite art craft to work on, but it's really important and it can be a lot of fun. And this is a simple type of poem that you can write about anyone, any individual, but we're going to choose a historical figure. In particular, we're going to talk about mill owners and mill workers during the 1913 Paterson Silk Strike. And I brought with me today a really beautiful model that 3 sixth graders made and then donated to the museum. And if I move my camera over on the table, you can see a model of the Botto House National Landmark. And it is a very busy place in this model. You see the front of the house has a balcony on the second floor, and there are figures standing on the balcony who are speaking. Their arms are outstretched, and they're giving speeches to all of the people who are standing below. These people are mill workers, and they are on strike in 1913. In the wintertime, you can see there are no leaves on the trees. And our story of the 1913 Paterson Silk Strike involves thousands of immigrant silk mill workers as well as the owners of the mills. So who were those people? What were they like? Well, if you visit the museum in person, you're welcome to borrow role-playing cards that we have here for teachers, for schools, and for families. You could take these home and put on a play and solve the strike in 1913 in your own way. So we're going to take a look at 4 of the roles that are included: 2 mill owners and 2 mill workers. Mill owners and mill workers. They were on opposite sides of the strike in 1913. A strike, as you may know, is an event that happens in workplaces and to workers when workers refuse to go to work as a protest against working conditions, treatment in their workplace. It's a way to get the attention of the owner, the mill owner, the boss, to bring about positive change in the workplace. During the strike, workers do not go to work, and the mill owners then have no product to sell. It's a way to make the mill owners stop and pay attention to the workers because they can't earn any money if they have no product to sell. So who were these mill owners in 1913? Well, I'd like you to meet one of them, Henry Dougherty. You can see his picture here. Let me read about him, and these are his thoughts in 1913. I am Henry Dougherty. I own the largest silk mill in the area. It has 400 of the newest looms available with all the modern improvements. I have a big investment in this new factory. I cannot understand why my weavers do not appreciate working on the newest kind of looms. After all, I started in Paterson with only 1 loom and built up my business using the most up-to-date machinery. Paterson gave me a good start, and it is a good place to do business. These strikers can only hurt themselves and Paterson by staying out on strike. That's the point of view of Henry Dougherty, and his workers walked out first. Of all the strikers in Paterson, his mill closed first. Henry Dougherty instituted an increase in loom assignment from 2 to 4 looms per weaver without increasing their wages. The weavers thought that was unfair, plus they knew it meant unemployment for half of the workforce. So they walked out. Henry Dougherty was upset and angry because he had made an investment in his factory and thought the workers would only be hurting themselves by going out on strike. Let's look at the point of view of another mill owner. This is Cathalina Lambert. Cathalina Lambert. The name may sound familiar to you. His home is now a museum called Lambert Castle Museum. It's located on Garrett Mountain right here in Passaic County, and you can visit it soon. It's being restored, so it's closed to the public, but you can see the outside of it. My name is Cathalina Lambert. I own 5 silk mills in Paterson and 2 in Pennsylvania. Almost 2,000 people work for me. I built a mansion, which is one of Paterson's largest and most elegant homes, and decorated it with my collection of 200 paintings and pieces of sculpture. My home is the envy of everyone in Paterson. But I wasn't born this rich. I also worked in textile mills. In fact, I began when I was 10 years old, carrying baskets of bobbins all day in a cotton mill in England. As you can see, my home and my businesses have been a great success. I don't need anyone to tell me how to run my business. I should be able to hire and fire whomever I please. I should not even have to talk to those strikers. Cathalina Lambert's point of view and his words. So let's listen to the point of view and the words of a worker on strike in 1913. Here's one. At a loom. This is a weaver, a woman. This is her point of view. I have been a weaver for 15 years. My parents and grandparents worked Jacquard looms in Italy. I have worked hard alongside them to learn my skills, and I am proud to be able to produce such fine fabrics. These new and faster machines the owners are talking about do not weave the silk as well. Paterson is famous for its silk goods. If we are forced to work these new looms, it is going to hurt our reputation for quality. I have been talking to some other weavers, and we know that working 4 looms instead of 2 will also put some of us out of work and eventually lower our pay. I think that we should be paid more instead of lining our bosses' pockets with more profits. A Jacquard weaver and a Jacquard loom produce patterned silk. Jacquard looms are more difficult to operate than broadcloth when you are weaving one color. Let's listen to the words of another worker. And here you can see 2 workers at a meeting, at a union meeting. I am a member of Local 152 of the Industrial Workers of the World Union. I have worked in the mills for 10 years. I joined this union because it gives all workers a voice and a way to have our opinions heard. We invited Big Bill Haywood, Elizabeth Gurley Flynn, and other speakers to come to Paterson to give us advice, not to tell us what to do. They have just come from a great strike victory in Lawrence, Massachusetts, and they can encourage us to stay out. But we can make our own decisions in this strike. We believe we can succeed if we stay united. If all silk workers stay out until everyone's demands are met, we can win this strike. That's what the new members of Local 152 of the Industrial Workers of the World thought here in Paterson during the strike. So those are the voices of 4 involved in the strike, 2 mill owners and 2 workers. There are 4 more cards, and I will stop sharing now, so maybe sometime you'll come and borrow them to learn a little bit more and maybe put on your own play. But for today's art class lesson, we're going to use those ideas from those mill owners and mill workers to create a poem. And if you visit the museum's website, you will be able to click on a link to get to this sheet. And it's about how to write a historic biography poem. It's really easy to be a poet this way. Your poem will have a set number of lines, 7. And on each line of your poem, you will fill in what is asked. On line 1, the name of the subject of your poem. Line 2, their title. A mill owner, a mill worker. Is Henry Dougherty the subject of your poem? Would you like to write a poem, as I did, about the weaver who lived in this house, Pietro? You can see my poem below. First name on the first line. Second line, what type of position do they have, or title? Are they a striker? Are they a weaver? Are they a union member? What is their title? That goes on the second line. You'll notice our poem doesn't have to rhyme, and usually it will not. But when you read it, you will notice the harmonies that it makes, like a real poem. You're writing a poem. And then on the third line, 3 words that describe the person, 3 adjectives. The mill owners are, like the mill workers, immigrants. That could be one of your descriptive words. What do you think they are like? Are they brave? Are they courageous? What kinds of words would you use to describe the subject of your poem? 3 of them. That goes on line 3. Line 4, 2 things, people or ideas that the people loved. I think both the mill owners and the mill workers loved making fine silk. What other 2, people, ideas, is the subject of your poem? What do they love? The next line, line 5, what did they accomplish? Were they weavers for 10 years, 15 years? Did they build a mansion? What did they accomplish? Write that down on the 5th line. On the 6th line, write where your subject lived. Residence is another word for your home, where you reside, where you live. Paterson, Halden, in the case of Pietro Botto, where did they live? And if you know a date of birth, and that may be a little bit harder in the case of these mill owners or mill workers, we didn't discuss that. And finally, line 7, the last name of your subject. So you can see below the poem that I have written about mill worker, weaver, Pietro Botto, and I will read it to you. When you're finished with your poem, find someone to read it to. Read it out loud. It's meant to be read out loud. Here is my poem. Pietro, silk weaver, skilled, smart, and brave, who loved his family and his fellow workers, who offered his home as a safe place during their strike. Halden, 1864, Botto. I know the year he was born, 1864, so I included it, but you do not. So try to write a historic biography poem. Again, you can find this sheet if you go to our website and click on the page for Saturday Labor Art Classes. There's other information there to learn more about the 1913 Silk Strike, mill owners and mill workers, and of course you're always welcome to come and visit at the museum to learn more. We're open to the public Wednesday through Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m. So enjoy writing your poem and find someone to read it to. Thanks for joining me. Have a good week.